Because if you really didn't care, he would have been careless from the start. That's the part nobody tells you. The man who treats you like a priority, then suddenly like a stranger, is rarely confused in the way you think he is. He's not waking up one morning with no memory of how deeply he pursued you. He remembers. He knows exactly how attentive he was, exactly how available, exactly how intentional. What changed is not his memory. What changed is his motive. Most people read this shift the wrong way. They think, maybe I did something. Maybe he got scared. Maybe he's overwhelmed. Maybe if I stay soft, patient, understanding, the version of him from the beginning will come back. But the beginning was never the most honest part. The beginning was the performance. And that doesn't always mean he was evil. It just means early attention is cheap. It's easy to be consistent when the reward is still in front of you, when he's trying to win you, impress you, secure your focus, secure your softness, secure your availability. A lot of people know how to pursue. Very few know how to remain. That's the difference. Anyone can create intensity. The late-night calls, the thoughtful texts, the sudden emotional openness, the feeling that somehow, out of everyone, he sees you differently. That part is seductive because it feels rare. But intensity is not rarity. Intensity is often strategy. And sometimes it isn't even conscious. Some men are addicted to the rise, not the relationship. They love the chase because the chase reflects something back to them. Their charm, their power, their desirability, their control. The moment you start feeling safe with them is often the exact moment they stop feeling stimulated by you. Not because you became less valuable, because you became less uncertain. And uncertainty is what kept their attention alive. This is why the switch feels so brutal. You're not reacting to distance. You're reacting to contrast. He made you feel chosen, then disposable. Seen, then invisible. Important, then inconvenient. That contrast creates obsession. Not love, obsession. Because the brain hates unfinished patterns. It wants to solve the mystery. It wants to get back to the version of him that felt warm, clear, undeniable. So instead of asking, "Why am I accepting inconsistency?" you start asking, "How do I get him back?" That's the trap. You start chasing the man he pretended to be at the start. And the more distance he creates, the more valuable his attention begins to feel. Not because it is valuable, because it is now scarce. Scarcity distorts judgment. A text back starts feeling like intimacy. A small effort feels massive. Basic decency feels romantic, and suddenly, you're grateful for crumbs from someone who once served you a full table. That is how emotional confusion becomes emotional dependency. And here's what makes it worse. When someone treats you like a priority in the beginning, your mind makes a silent agreement. You think, this is his standard. This is who he is when he cares. So when he changes, you assume the connection must still be there somewhere. Hidden under stress, fear, timing, pressure. Whatever explanation helps the pain make sense. But behavior does not disappear. It reveals hierarchy. People make time for what they don't want to lose. Read that again. People make time for what they don't want to lose. If he could be attentive before, he can be attentive now. If he could communicate then, he can communicate now. If he could make you feel secure at the start, but now leaves you guessing, the issue is not capability. It's priority. And priority is the truth most people spend months trying not to see. Because once you see it, you have to decide. You have to stop romanticizing potential, stop translating neglect into hidden depth, stop calling confusion chemistry. You have to admit that sometimes the reason he feels like a stranger is because the version of him you met was designed for access, not permanence. That hurts. Because now you're not just grieving a person, you're grieving a possibility, the imagined future, the almost, the version of the story that made emotional sense when he was still trying. And that grief can make people do dangerous things. They over-explain, over-give, over-wait. They become more understanding than the situation deserves. They think unconditional patience is proof of love, when sometimes it is proof of self-abandonment. There's another layer to this. Some men don't pull away because they lost interest. They pull away because they secured certainty. Once they know you're emotionally invested, once they know you'll excuse the delay, forgive the inconsistency, decode the mixed signals, they stop managing the connection carefully. They believe the bond can survive less effort. And if you keep staying, you accidentally teach them that it can. This is why words become useless so fast. A man can say he misses you and still neglect you. Say he's overwhelmed and still make time for everyone else. Say he cares and still leave you in emotional limbo. Words are often used to preserve access. Patterns reveal intent. Always choose patterns. Always. If you want to understand how someone truly feels, don't study how they act when they're afraid of losing you. Study how they act once they think they have you. That is the real reveal. Not the flowers, not the paragraphs, not the perfect first month, not the magnetic eye contact and the strange sense that this connection is different. Look at what happens after comfort enters the room, after routine, after emotional access, after he knows you care, after he knows you're not going anywhere. That version is the verdict. And this is the part most people resist because it feels harsh. The beginning does not deserve more weight than the pattern. It doesn't matter how beautiful the start was if the middle is starvation. It doesn't matter how intentional he sounded if the reality of him now feels cold, vague, and unstable. A strong opening means nothing if the truth cannot survive time. Consistency is the luxury, not chemistry, not potential, not promises. Consistency. A calm, clear, steady person may feel less intoxicating at first, less cinematic, less addictive. But that is usually because your nervous system is used to earning love through uncertainty. So when someone healthy arrives, it feels almost too quiet, too simple, too clean. And when someone inconsistent arrives, it feels deep. It isn't deep. It's dysregulating. There's a difference. So what do you do when a man goes from priority to stranger? You stop trying to revive the version of him that only existed under pursuit. You stop negotiating with the memory of his best behavior. You stop asking for old energy from someone who benefits from giving you less. And most importantly, you stop measuring his feelings by how strong they once seemed. You measure them by what they sustain. That is the standard. Not how intensely he entered your life, how clearly he remains in it. Here's the insider truth most people learn too late. Attention is not the prize. Selective consistency is. Because anyone can flood you with affection when there's something to gain. Access, validation, excitement, ego, control. But the rare person, the dangerous to lose person, is the one whose energy does not collapse after the chase is over. That is character. That is emotional maturity. That is someone you can actually build with. So if he suddenly feels like a stranger, don't waste your life trying to become more lovable, more patient, more understanding, more convenient. The right question is not, how do I get him back to how he was? The right question is, why did I give so much value to who he was at the beginning, and so little to who he is now? That question changes everything. Because the moment you stop being hypnotized by the opening act, you start seeing the full pattern. And patterns do not beg for interpretation. They beg for acceptance. So believe the coldness. Believe the distance. Believe the inconsistency. Not because it defines your worth, because it reveals his. And once you understand that, the spell breaks. He stops feeling like a mystery and starts looking exactly like what he is. Someone who knew how to make you feel chosen, but not someone who knew how to truly choose you.